So this is Dana Haynes, artist Muse, and I'm kind of going to ramble about the artist rabbit hole that I kind of fell down in throughout my life. And, you know, it's like a detour of trying to get art done and where should I be to do some art. And I'll explain a little bit. Right now I'm putting together a coloring book. Well, it's an activity book for learning to write. And I'd done a software program 20 years, well, not 20 years ago, 15 years ago, to put my old website all in there so I could just, here's the package, because at some point I was getting so into the programming side of it and I was forgetting the art. Basically, it started out, you know, I want to draw cutesy graphics. I bought a tablet. I started drawing on it, and you know, I would do it while the kids napped or late at night, and you know, just work on learning how to draw on a tablet. And you know, the graphics were smaller than they are today, and you know, the computer's very slow, and me just kind of. And I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the artwork that I did 20 years ago that I'm putting together for this activity book, and kind of going, because I'm relearning to use a tablet. I haven't touched one in 15 years. So I have to relearn that. But I'm kind of trying to explain that it started out with I need to have a website. And I need to have a website because I got to be able to show people the graphics that I'm drawing, right? Or putting together. And then I had a niche because I had young children and I ran a daycare. So I had my own business and I helped my father open a tavern, so I was running that. So I was trying to do three things all at once. And art started to be put on the back burner more and more. You know, it was like, you know, there's a Supertramp song, Take the Long Way Home. It's like going all the way around to get to, I'm going to do some art today. So I was running around, running two of these businesses and trying to learn this stuff, and decided to go back to college to learn it. And so I, you know, the business that I helped my dad open was doing okay, so I left it and kind of did the daycare, kind of off and on, depending on my financial needs. But I kept the website up until my divorce and going back to college, and I'm like, it's time to put it away. So I packed it into a software program. And these worksheets that I did, I saved. And, well, thank God, there's like 200 of them. So I can put a book together. But I'm looking at it, and, you know, this is 20 years ago, and I'm looking at my drawing skills, and I'm going, oh my God, was I really that bad? And I wasn't. The stuff isn't bad. It fits the software that I worked on perfectly. You know, we're going to study the color green today, and we're going to, you know, try to write lettuce or whatever, or the letter A or B or L or whatever. Anyway, the worksheets make a great activity book, but you still got that, because artists go through the I'm not good enough thing. I need to learn more, and I need to learn more. And with today's art environment, I mean, it's gotten easier because, you know, a lot of these art sites make a pretty cut and dry, just how to post. It's not too complicated. Putting up a website now doesn't take you, weeks on end to learn uh, a program or um, a language. You can just pop one up and you don't really have to know any of that. It was really frustrating for me because I fell down the rabbit hole. I learned HTML, that started it. I was learning computer graphics and how to draw. uh, you know, I was in Corel at the time, but it'd be like how to draw in Illustrator versus Photoshop. Which one do I use for what? And I just kind of, during the divorce, at some point, I was like, it's time to put this away. Focus on learning this stuff if you're going to do it, because that's where you're spending all your time. And I actually enjoyed it, but by the time I got, I don't know, 2 classes away from my degree, these programs that come out where people could pop up a website, with little or no training or understanding of the languages, and here I learned, 5 or 6 to be able to do what I was doing with the database and everything else, and I was just, you know, pretty frustrated because then the market for that kind of fell out right as I was on the verge of graduating. So I'd learned all these skills and they got me nowhere. So I was kind of, this piece of paper is worthless to me. I can't get a job around here unless I drive into Chicago to do some of this. And one of the programmers, I don't know who said it, but there's a quote about basically, remember that you're programming for the dumbest person possible, and you gotta. So everything that has been created to make life easier for people like me. But I actually took the time to learn it, which is what's frustrating. So I fell down this whole programming um, rabbit hole and learned a bunch of different skills that pretty much, other than working on my own website, are pretty much worthless to me. And I'm not saying this to discourage anybody. What I'm saying is it got me away from actually focusing on drawing and my drawing skills and my fundamentals and actually painting murals and, you know, working in traditional art. And I was converting to digital, but I got so caught up in the programming part of it that, trying to pass the classes for college and everything else. And because at the time when I started that looked like, well, this is the only way you're going to get a job doing anything creative. And it turned out, I was so busy doing these other 2 businesses or working for somebody else to pay the bills that, I got further and further behind. So here I am 20 years later putting together a activity book that I wanted to do 20 years ago, and the means just wasn't there yet. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it's a tale of caution not to get too caught up in some of this stuff. I was really excited about print on demand because it changed the game. People could actually purchase what you were drawing or painting, and kind of went back to, well, I'm going to go back to traditional art and post it. But I did a bunch of fractals because it was when I did digital art and was contemplating finishing school or college and get that associate's degree. And, and me kind of it was one big rabbit hole, and the whole drive behind it was because I want to be an artist. I want to be creative. I want to have a creative job that pays me well enough to support my family. And I kind of posted about this when I was doing the fractals that, you know, another artist lashed out at me. Well, I paid my mortgage for 20 some odd years. I did graphics and blah, blah, blah. And, lashed out at me because the market is so flooded with people like me that, it started out as a side hustle and you trying to get better at your art and trying to incorporate the computer world with it, and got lashed out, and I couldn't really understand why she was being so cold, because you know that drive is in an artist, okay, that I've got to do this, I've got to make this work. So in today's atmosphere, an artist is expected to have a website. You should. You're expected to post on social media, and you're expected to get artwork done faster than is actually possible to get it done. And people have 1.3 second attention span when it comes to looking at your art or something. You got to have that wow factor going on. And even stuff I did 10 years ago with the fractal art, it was wow 10 years ago. Now the market for it is so saturated that it's not wow anymore. It's, oh, you're one of those. And when I was originally doing it, I had websites, print on demand websites, I don't know the word for it. Example, ImageKind was the first print on demand site I joined, and I ended up in an article about it and invited to an art show locally, a couple of them, because it was so new and fresh. And now it's 10 years later, and I'm putting together the stuff that I've done. And I got these cutesy graphics from one stage. I've got these, coloring book pages in another stage of stuff. And then I have the fractal art. And now, I'm sitting here. It's intimidating because, on the one hand, it's great that you can listen to these Disney artists, these gaming artists, these people in the industry that got those really great jobs, and listen to their advice and, their pointers and what they've got to say about stuff. But it's still a rabbit hole. It went from me doing, cutesy gifts, 20 years ago that kind of animate to now, if you want to keep learning and improving your skills in the digital world, the website stuff's past. Great, you can program, so can everybody else, and most of them don't need to, and they pretend that they can and they can't. And, now you need to learn Blender, you need to learn ZBrush, you've got to be a pro at Adobe and learn 20 programs, and you got to be on 5 different social sites and keep up with it. And stuff that I did a year ago looks blah. It wowed a year ago, it doesn't today. And you got to learn Blender, and you do the donut tutorial, and you got to learn how to sculpt, and you got to learn rigging and animation, and the programs keep getting more and more expensive to keep up in graphic world. I'm already paying for an Adobe subscription that is basically, you know, might as well. I bought the software and I spent probably $2,000 on software 10 years ago, and I might as well make a payment to them all the time because I need that. It's sustainable. In my artistic life, I use it pretty much regularly, at least once a day, or minimum a couple times a week. So you got to pay for that, and then I want to learn Substance and a couple of these other painting programs, ZBrush, and I added up what it would cost me if I paid all these subscription prices, and it was around $250 a month. Plus, just drawing on a regular tablet drawing board isn't practical anymore. They didn't have this technology a decade ago. These critiques, I think they're called, the tablets where you can just draw directly on them, was probably just coming out, and it was really expensive, and it costs about $2,000-$3,000 to get one of those now. And I've already invested in a major computer that can keep up with the rigging and all this stuff, that has the power behind it, and it's a level of frustration that I got to, because I wasn't getting any art done. I was just keeping up and trying to figure out, what do I got to learn to do what I want to do. And I really did. I had to revisit old art and go, okay, what did you want to do 20 years ago? You wanted to create a coloring book, and you had it in your mind, someday this is going to be a coloring book. And someday this is going to be a piece of software that I can sell instead of a website that I spend all my time working on. So right now I'm putting together, finally, you've got Amazon where you can post your own book and put it together where you can print, and there's other options available now where you can print a straight up coloring book through, printers online, that, I can get 10 coloring books made for the grandchildren. But then, all this stuff is coming into being in the last, I want to say the last 5 years, that there's just a flood of all of us artists posting stuff that it's just saturated. So I got pretty frustrated, a couple of years ago, going, people think anybody can do this stuff now. Well, they can, but they can't. And me even sitting here going, as deep as I have dived down the rabbit hole of, computer science, to do art, I'm still not producing art the way that I want to or capable of doing. And a lot of it is because of all the distractions. And while you need to be on there and be consistent, it can't be soaking up all your time. Like Facebook, I caught myself, I started watching van life videos instead of getting some work done. And they're all set up to keep you on their platform, which I get. I did that with my website. I made it so content rich that people would get lost in it. In the website I have now, people don't do that, and I know I'm not doing something, and there's more pressure on me because I know better. I know what works and what doesn't, and you get on here, and artists have so much hope that it'll pan out, and the people that are making money on these print-on-demand sites are artists that were well established to begin with. I've had sales from that. Well known. Um, and then you get the gaming artist and Disney artist, and you look up to them, and you're like, oh my God, I'm never. It just gets to the point where I've got to learn all this other stuff, and I can't afford it, but I need to, and it's a frustration level. So I guess when I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, I'm just trying to give the warning of don't fall down the rabbit hole. Give it so much attention that, and then leave it, like the social stuff. You can't spend all your time on it. I actually went out of my way because I knew it was taking up too much time, and now they've got scheduling that, you know what, I'm going to make something for the whole year, and these are my posts, and it's planned ahead, and I don't sit and think about it anymore. It doesn't take up all my time. That way I can actually work on actual art. And it got to the point where, you know what, this, gotta keep learning this, gotta keep learning that, gotta learn this, gotta learn that, that it got to the point where no. You know what? I went through a period of, I turned off my computer. I didn't get on it. And just sat down with my paints and a 4 by 4 foot mural and knocked out a painting instead, and practiced a bunch of other different kind of art stuff, and then got back on and kind of overwhelmed with, well, if I post it, this is going to take up a ton of my time, and I'm not even guaranteed a sale. And I'm not here to discourage you. I'm just here to warn you that some of the stuff, even Redbubble, as simple as they make it to post your artwork, it's time consuming. And it may be taking away from the time that you actually do your art and work on your skills. And I want to clarify, a lot of people that are making money on these print on demand sites are posting thousands of designs they bought by other people that they paid nil to none for or little for. And you got to be posting. I mean, the way that I got noticed, I had 300 pieces of art that I had to post on, because I moved from ImageKind to Redbubble, that I was posting consistently every day for weeks on end to get all that up. That's how I got noticed. And this is how the other people are getting noticed and making money. I mean, the person that I looked at, he had 1,600 designs. That's how he was making money. Do you know how much, the amount of time spent doing just like minimum, not so great graphics for that kind of stuff? And just not the top of the best designs is what's selling, and there's a frustration level there. And I want other artists to know, don't depend on this unless you're going to put in 1,600 designs or 2,000 or 3,000 before, because it takes that much to even get noticed with Google, or it's much harder than it was 20 years ago to get picked up by Google. I mean, it picks you up, but you're like way back there, even, so getting noticed is harder than it was 10 years ago, even on social media with the algorithms and everything, because I didn't post for a while, that, the consistency that they need to notice you, you can't produce that kind of art and it be quality like you want to do. So it's a shout out to all those people trying to get somewhere with all this. that you're not alone. You know, it's okay that you're only posting or doing one piece of art a week or a month. You know, the mural that I did took a couple months, probably 3, and it took a decade in the process of sketching that out and putting it together and getting to the point where I had time and I had to put down the computer to do it. And I'm telling you, the computer is my best friend. It's, you know, we get along. So, but I didn't, if I knew what was coming, I wouldn't have put that much effort into it, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying it takes a tremendous amount of work and just to get noticed, let alone make a sale. And I don't want to dash anybody's hopes, but I do want to be the voice of practicality and reason, that you're putting in a lot of time and the payback is not near what your art is valued at. I mean, I am looking at top end artists that are selling their sketches maybe for $100 and me going, that's ridiculous. It, you've got all this time invested, those should be 200. You're well known. Everybody knows your name. You should be charging more. Even artists that aren't well known should be charging more, because getting on here and looking at some of this, I mean, it's ridiculous to say you can pay me $5 for a sketch, but people are doing that just to get their name out there. They're working for pennies on the dollar, and it's with the explosion of on the plus side, it's a art revolution. On the downside is the market is so saturated that we're all competing for eyeballs and not getting the attention that our art really needs. I'm looking at the sketches that I did 20 years ago, and I know with the amount of stuff that I had on my plate that they were hurried, they were rushed. The time that I needed to put into them, I'm going back and I'm redoing stuff and correcting it now so I can put it in this book. And it's been on my plate or my list of things to do for 15 years and just now getting to it. And it's just now possible that I can put that in a book and have it printed. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was possible probably 20 years ago, but finding the vendor to do it for you that wasn't just ridiculously high was hard to find. And, you know, that's kind of why you have Kickstarter and all this other stuff, because these projects 10 years ago just cost so much. I spent probably thousands on software and printing stuff up for art shows that, you know, they got attention in that moment, but it's the David Bowie 15 minutes of fame kind of thing, and then everybody's moving on to something else. I'm not one to work for free, okay? I just don't believe in it. I did it for family, and I did it for family because they're family. But, you know, I kind of quit posting graphics because somebody stole the logo and thought it was okay to just take my logo and put it on their website. It's like, no, that's not okay. You know, would you like to speak to my lawyer? So, you know, I just want to say you're not alone. And don't give up on your art just because, you know, with the internet, everything is kind of chaotic. What you need is a plan. You know, I need to have this, I need to have that, I need to do this, and I need to do that. And then I need X amount of hours to actually just do artwork. And for a lot of people, that's very hard because they weren't established before all this. And like my own style has changed. For, there's a difference between me raising preschoolers and tots to me wanting to do fantasy art. Styles change. So it's just a cautionary tale of you don't have to learn it all. Because there for a while I did. What's the next thing I got to learn to get a job and get myself out of the doing two different businesses and at the same time situation. I needed it to go from just a side hustle to a real income. And a lot of these things that artists can get involved in online pay very little. I mean, if you're making 20,000 as an artist from doing print on demand, having memberships or Patreon or something like that, and doing commissions, and if you're clearing 20,000, you're doing really good in the internet art market. Does that mean that we need to go back to paying to get in galleries or that kind of system? I don't know. I don't think so. I just know that my skills, the things that are still in me to draw or paint, are still there. This drive to do a coloring book. I want to do an adult coloring book. There's a mural that I want to do about rose-colored glasses, and that has been in my mind to paint probably since before I even had children. There's things that you put on your palette and you feel like you're behind or not good enough because you haven't gotten there yet. And what I'm telling you is social media has its place, website has its place, all these things that people are doing have their place, but they need to be kept in check. So you're not spending all your time on that and not actually producing artwork. And there's been times where, you know what, I'm cutting this out for now. They're not going to miss me for 4 months while I'm off doing this. They're going to sit and watch their feed and do something else until I produce something to show them. So it's okay to put it down and go do some artwork. It's okay not to respond to every IM that you get or every email, or we want to be good about responding to our fans and stuff, but the same breath you have to take the time out to actually get any artwork done and keep honing your skills and your style, and it's going to change and it's going to flex, and you're going to get into, there's just such a pressure on younger artists today to learn all these different things that you may or may not get a job doing. From an old sage here, just kind of giving you a heads up that don't forsake your real art skills and put them to the side and think they're going to improve if you haven't done them in a while. They're not. You got to keep working on that. I took time out and kind of did, you know what, I'm going to do one piece of art a day. Come hell or high water, I'm going to work on art once a day. And I did it for a year straight, and I have a body of work to go with it now because I did that. And it's kind of how the graphics got done and the artwork got done that I did 20 years ago for this activity book. You just have to do it. You can't let the distractions, back in the day we had AOL and people wanted to talk, and I just had to put an away message on there, I'm busy, and go do some art, or, because I didn't have a lot of time to be wasting. And I'm telling you, falling down the rabbit hole, while it was productive and I don't regret it, learning all that stuff, I don't remember half of it that I learned. I'm sure if I picked it up again, I would know it like the back of my hand, but I don't use it every day. So think of the skills that you're going to learn, that you want to learn, and then ask yourself, am I going to use this every day? Reason Photoshop is so popular is because it's something people pretty much use on a regular basis. Do you need to learn Lightroom? I mean, if you're a photographer like I was for a while, I did it for a decade. Yeah, you need to learn it. But if you're just, you know, posting pictures of your artwork, do you need to learn it? No. There's a lot of programs in the Adobe suite that you can skip. You don't need to learn them all. It depends on what your goal is. Like right now, I'm probably going to have to learn XD because I'm putting a book together. And not to scare you, the more that you work with this stuff, the quicker it comes to you and the less hassle it is to learn. Each time you learn something new, you kind of pick up from the last, piece of software, and, they have similarities and you pick them up quicker. But don't spend all your time, well, I gotta learn this or I gotta learn that. Some of it you don't, to do what you need to do online today as an artist. Can it all be done? Yes, it can. What I'm saying is you gotta keep it in check and not let it get out of hand where that's where the bulk of your time is spent. Just consider it part of marketing, and you don't want all your time spent marketing something. You want the bulk of your time to go to the actual production of creating the piece. While you're creating that piece, what skill am I actually trying to learn here? When I was doing the fractals, I was actually transferring from CorelDRAW to Adobe and was learning Photoshop. So there was a skill that I was learning to do those art pieces. And it landed me a job in the creative field and photography, blah. Anyway, and you can support yourself, but it doesn't go as fast as some of these people that get on here and make it sound like you're just going to be an overnight success if you just do this, and this. Well, this, and this is a whole skill. I'm a photographer. I tell you, my videos look awful. Even me improving the camera, went out and got different setup to make sure that it at least filmed a little bit clearer. I don't want to get caught up into, my daughter's like, well, can you create a video for me? Yeah, I can, but it'd probably take me a chunk of time to learn how to do it where it actually turned out a really nice professional video. What I'm saying is you don't want to end up a little bit good at everything and master of none. I'm looking at Ann Stokes and going, that's the kind of art that you were geared to produce, and you still haven't produced any of it. And, that person has made a name for themselves. So now if you do stuff like that, it's going to seem like you're copying, So, you find your own niche or whatever you want to call it, or style. But I'm still kind of exploring that and haven't, to me, produced my best art yet. My mural is pretty good, but I want to take it down, it's hanging on the wall, and kind of redo some stuff on it, and improve it. So it's still a work in process. Anyway, me falling down the rabbit hole is kind of why I turned the computer off and went, you know what, this is just too much. And I did it, and I did it consistently, and, was noticed briefly and had my 15 minutes of fame and then moved on. And kind of starting from scratch again, I've got some of these projects that from eons ago that, yeah, I'm going to work on. But in the same breath, I know when to turn the computer off and actually produce something. And what I'm finding is, and frustrated with my own self, because I fell down that rabbit hole, I'm still creating cartoonish characters and graphics and kind of painting that way, and shouldn't be at this point. To me, I should have advanced to more realism, more surrealism, more fantasy art, and kind of you put pressure on yourself to begin with that these are the things that I want to do and accomplish, but you're getting sidetracked by all the computer stuff, and even the people that do the gaming art and work in, say, we'll use the example of Disney, you know, their jobs are broke down to, you're just working on this, and I need you to do this really well, okay? But I don't need you to do this, 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 and this. I have somebody that's an expert at that, and they're going to do that. So what I'm telling you, focus. The only way I got through all this is focus. I focused on something, and it was so important at the time for me to learn all that I focused on that, and maybe didn't get to the end goal, which was, well, I did. I was in a creative field, but I'm just looking at, because my situation has changed. I'm more retired and I have a handicap now, that I'm more looking at where are my art skills traditionally, and what do I want to produce that way, and what's on that bucket list of things to do that I didn't get to that I still want to do. And a lot of this stuff could have been done 20 years ago or 10 years ago, but it would have cost me a fortune to do. So what I'm saying is there's plus and minuses to it. I embrace the techie side of things and all things computer. But, there's a point where it's just too much. Do I really need to learn to animate that? Or is that just something that's going to be a time waster and take away from me actually producing a painting that will be around for decades or 50, 60 years or longer? I've lost 2 portfolios that I can think of, and luckily had some of the other stuff saved that I can go back through some of but I've lost lots of work, portfolios. I had, the website that I did, I had that all saved and it's gone. I had the portfolio of all the photography that I did for 2 or 3 years saved, and I lost all that. So I keep going back to, it's great to learn all these digital skills, but in the same breath, not get lost and caught up into them. And, it's real easy for somebody that has no skills now to get on and make something, and like on Canva or some of these websites, and make it look like they have these design skills that they don't have, you know. So, you blend in, but you don't, kind of deal. You know, you've made the stuff yourself and people are sharing it, but, is it quality, kind of deal. And I've got different batches of work that I've done that, you put it all together and they're just, I know if somebody was going to hire me, they'd be going, well, what did she do? Because she's got this and this and this and this, and it may land me a job. It did before, but in the same breath, it may take away from me getting one of the better jobs because it is kind of all over the place. So, anyway, that's my take on this, and I'm not going to talk for the full hour, but I just wanted to share that your time's precious, and you only have so much of it, and you need to focus on what it is that you really want to do. If it's just art and traditional is your thing, then focus on art. If digital is something that digital painting is something that you're interested in, then focus on that and get the tools for that. But, you don't need, I'm sitting here, I want the drawing tablet that's $2,000-$3,000. But you know what? This drawing board that cost me $70 is going to be what works until the meantime. You think about what you're investing in, how much you're investing, and if you're getting paid back for the time that you put into something. A lot of these print on demand sites, no, you're not gonna get enough revenue to live off of unless you just like go full force at it, no sleep, and grind. And that's no way to live because you gotta have time for your family. You gotta have time for your friends and and make time for yourself on top of time to do your artwork. And I'm telling you, I was a fired up person. I had a lot on my plate that I worked on at one point, and there was a point where I could have went back to the grind and ran the bar and tried to do artwork on the side, and there was a point in there was I don't want to do it anymore. I want to spend time with my kids and do art. And I had to sit down and make a priority list. This is what is important to me. And you know what? Amazingly enough, digital art really didn't. Art made the list, but digital art being the focus wasn't. So, well, it was, but it wasn't. You need to really just focus on what it is that will get you where you don't give up hope, because it is so easy to get overwhelmed with the amount of great artists out there that are well established that you want to be like, and but you want to have your own style, and you can get so caught up in the grind of doing all this other stuff, the website, the social media, and the programming and stuff like that, that you forget, you know what, I really just need to focus on my thing. There's a couple of up and coming artists I've seen that, you know what, I do recognize his work from getting passed around on social media. And he is good. And it is different. And it does make you think. And, so that's where you want to be at. It takes time. And don't sit there and say you're not good enough just because you fell down the rabbit hole. Pull yourself out of it and, get back to focusing on what it will actually benefit your art career. And try not to get too sidetracked by all these other things that you could do that might not take you to the end result that you want. I mean, I'm in my 50s and kind of going, man, there's just so much more I want to do, and I have it in my mind the way I want this mural to look, and how do I get it there? And, you know, it doesn't all have to be sucking life out of you, is what I'm telling you. Keep it simple and stay focused. And I'll see you on the flip side.